afternoon and welcome to the Lyric Professors. I am Professor A and I am just a number. Behind me is Professor Dogger, who also has her own camera below. And on the other side of the world, we are joined by, as ever, Professor J. How are things on the other side of the world, Professor J?
I'm not a number, I'm a free man.
That would be a nice thought.
We're back to the 60s, The Prisoner.
And the Sam Fender song, which was more the reference, but yes, okay.
Yep, all good. All good. Excited to get some more Smiths.
Yes, indeed. Do you have a guitar thingy for us this week?
No. Well, you know, it's interesting because the first song that we're going to go into today.
Very interesting opening riff. Yes.
Yeah, and when Johnny Marr wrote that, he was using a guitar in open E tuning.
Right, so like Jackie, what's it?
Jackie Chan?
Jackie Levin or Levin, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think Jackie Levin never really kind of learnt to play the guitar properly, kind of sort of self. So I think, and he said in the description of the riff that he had the guitar in open E tuning, and he had no idea what he was doing. And he said both that it was a good creative thing to do, have something where you're just listening to whether or not it sounds good, and you have no preconceptions of what you're going to play because everything is thrown out the window.
Yeah.
So this one is in open E. Sometimes it's in open E, but oftentimes he plays it with a guitar that's tuned to open D and puts a capo on the second fret.
Right. So it's the same thing, basically.
So it's the same thing, but subtly different. And I think that's a good idea, you know, like this guitar, which is got string missing. It's in some completely random tuning, but it's a joy to play with.
Right.
Because you just pick up and you make a noise, and you don't worry about what you're playing. You just twiddle and twaddle, and it's good. All right, should we dive in?
Yes, let's do that.
Okay. So the first one we've chosen for today is the Headmaster Ritual, which is a 1985 track off the album Meat is Murder. So for their second album, released in 85, Morrissey went to kind of the very classic caricature, if such a thing exists, of Morrissey. So it was political. It had this pro-vegetarian title. And do you know what the sleeve, the cover art of this
single? Well, I've got a picture of it here. Oh, you mean the album?
I mean the album.
No,
yeah.
I don't. To be honest with you.
So it's a Vietnam Marine with a helmet, and on originally the photo had "Make War Not Love" written on the helmet, and this was changed to "Meat is Murder" for the album cover. And apparently the soldier in question, Corporal Michael Wynne, was not happy. Oh, right. He wasn't real happy that the wording on his helmet had changed. So,
well, that's the kind of thing we're getting now, aren't we? Like with AI, like or Trump supporters releasing pictures of Trump at a party populated by African Americans, and they're all hugging him and smiling and stuff. And obviously, this never happened. But it's the same kind of thing. Fake news, as you might say.
Yeah, fake news. Fake news. So this song, I would say, is probably musically my favorite Smith song.
Okay.
I think the riff is amazing, and it's really interesting with Johnny Marr because he's a guitar hero, but not a sort of a classical guitar hero. You know, your sort of classical guitar heroes are your shredders and people who play really fast, really technical stuff. And Johnny Marr's playing is kind of, it's about efficiency. You know, he plays, you know, he's in a small band, you know, it's really only him and the bass player providing songs. So he has to fill up a lot of space. So he's very jingly jangly. There's no riffing. There's not really any solos. Are you aware of any Smith solos?
Well, unless you count the opening to How Soon Is Now as a solo.
It's not really a solo. It's not a single note. It's a chord. When I think of solo, I think of a sort of a searing lead line, single notes, double stops at most, and that certainly isn't that. So yeah, so he's this guitar wizard who doesn't fall under the normal bracket of guitar wizard that he's, you know, shredding and riffing like, you know, Van Halen or, you know, Slash or someone like that. He's a really different mold of guitar hero.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah,
it's a nice riff.
So, I mean, it's a banging tune. Have you heard the Radiohead cover of this?
No, I haven't. I've got some comments about it and a quote or two about it, but I haven't actually heard it.
It's okay. It's better than the comments. Okay, I'm going to just dive into some lyrics, because actually the lyrics themselves are not very. They're not very deep. They're pretty open, I would say.
Yes, they are. They're also apparently not autobiographical.
Okay. Well, let's read some of these lyrics. Belligerent ghouls run Manchester schools. Spineless swine cemented minds. Sir leads the troops, jealous of youth. Same old suit since 1962.
Yes.
Pause there.
Was in the middle of the pre-chorus. Right. Yes.
Yeah, well, otherwise it doesn't make sense, right? So, belligerent. That's an amazing word to start a song with.
This comes from the Latin bellum, meaning war, as in parabellum.
Indeed.
And yes, it means someone who is
and garare, to bear or carry, like bellicose.
It's bellicose, I'd have said, would be better than belligerent, to be honest, in this word. Warlike rather than warmongering, perhaps. Belligerent, smaller. But yes, that's what that means. Ghouls, of course, being ghosties, or also people who delight in terrible things might be described as ghouls, I guess. Ghoulish.
Yes.
Not goulash.
Definitely not goulash.
Completely different thing.
Yeah, so these warlike ghosts are running Manchester schools. I also was from Manchester schools, but there you go.
I got it as run.
Yeah, me too. But when I listened to, prior to looking at the lyrics,
right.
It now makes sense, but I always thought it was from. So yes, they're spineless. So they
I've got a quote from a random on Genius about this, which I thought was quite good. I should have noted the name down. I didn't. Anyway, he or she says the use of the word spineless is rather perplexing, as one would think that antagonism requires some sort of courage or personal strength. And although an argument could very well be made against this assertion, Morrissey offers no further argument to counter the notion. The most probable meaning is simply that the phrase is a random epithet thrown at the school's administrators by the vindictive and presumably adolescent narrator. According to the dictionary, spineless means not brave or determined enough to deal with the situation well. Which is true in this case, because it's not a good way of dealing with a situation. But I don't think bullies are generally spineless while they're bullying. They might be when they're confronted by someone who won't be bullied.
Yeah, I mean, I interpret spineless as that they are waging their war on people who can't fight back. So that's why I see it as spineless. If they want to wage a war, wage against someone who can fight back.
Sure.
And these people, you're in a position of authority, so that's the way that I interpret it.
And of course, spine rhymes with swine, so that's probably the real reason he chose.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. So we have cemented mind, so stone-like
Yeah.
minds that are not capable of change.
In modern psychotherapy, this is known as concrete thinking,
Ooh.
which is obviously very similar to cement. I've never known the difference between cement and concrete. So. Yes.
Yep. So, these are old, cemented thinking guys. They're waging war on kids and they're jealous of them.
Mm.
And they're wearing the same old clothes since 1962.
And he's using, again, a war metaphor with leads the troops.
Indeed, yes. As he will do in the next lyrics. He does the military two-step down the nape of my neck. I want to go home. I don't want to stay. Give up education is a bad mistake. I'm going to pause there.
Yes.
Go
on.
Well, let's do the military two-step. So what's the military two-step?
It's actually a sort of dance associated with the Cayley Gaelic social event, but I'm sure it originated in the cadence of marching.
Yeah, so there are various things from this. Most notably, the Paso Doble, which is
yes.
the Spanish fast-paced march,
Double pace,
presumably used by the infantry to do 120 steps a minute. So basically, it means that they could go into battle much quicker. So so that's the intention behind that. The military two-step really refers to the goose step, which is during military parades, and it's a bit it's a bit Ministry of Silly Walks,
yes,
right?
Absolutely is. But of course, it's best known for that Hitler and his lads.
Indeed.
Although
Indeed.
they do it in other military.
They do it in all sorts. And basically, while marching in parade formation, swing your legs very high and straight off the ground. That is it.
So it's always a good thing when your soldiers trip over themselves when they go into battle.
So he does that down the nape of my neck. What do you think that means?
I thought it seemed sort of like being grabbed from behind, grabbing his shirt collar and pulling him back. But other things I've read seems to suggest he's physically marching two fingers down the nape of the neck.
Oh.
I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't get that. I was a bit confused by the next line. Give up education is a bad mistake. I always heard it as a bad mistake.
I've got as here.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, it must be. His sentence wouldn't make sense with this.
And do you think that refers to the protagonist or the target? Does it refer to the teacher or to the
teacher's
child?
the antagonist. The child is the protagonist.
There we go. Thank you.
Yes, I think it refers to the child. He wants to. He's presumably this is a boarding school we're referring to, so where they stay, sleep on the premises, and don't go home to their families. And I think he wants his family to come and get him.
Yeah.
And give up education is a bad mistake. Which it's not the education's problem, although in such a rigid situation, probably the education would just be learning your kings and queens and who won what battle or whatever. It's probably not particularly good education, I would say. But it's the kind of thing that gets you an old school tie, which is the most useful thing in getting a job in this country.
Do you know the kings and queens of England?
Well, some of them. There was a Liz 2 was one of them.
Charles, whatever.
Charles 3, yeah, that's right.
Because when I was schooled, this is the way that I remember it, although it could be absolute garbage, is that when I was schooled, it was a time when such things were deemed out of fashion. So I was not taught the kings and queens of England, so I don't know any of them.
I wasn't talking like that. I mean, I'm 1 year ahead of you academically. Sounds like I'm better than you. I mean, I'm 1 year older in academics. But I know I was the first year that did GCSEs, and I was the first year that had the national curriculum, I think. I think that's when they changed to the national curriculum, where every school is supposed to teach the same basic things.
Right.
I think that's when they stopped the importance of kings and queens so much. Although,
okay. Yeah, so I wasn't taught them. But I know that, for example, my parents, other people I know, they can recite. I think my dad can recite all the kings and queens in order since,
useful talent.
Whenever. Yeah, exactly. Yes. So where are we? Give up education is a bad mistake. Next line. Midweek on the playing fields. Sir thwacks you on the knees you in the groin, elbows in the face. Bruises bigger than dinner plates. I want to go home. I don't want to stay.
Yeah, well, this is referring to, largely it's referring to corporal punishment, which was abolished in the UK in 96, I think.
In when?
1996, I believe.
Oh,
so
okay.
After Morrissey would have left school.
Yeah.
But that sounds more like full-on physical assault. Knees you in the groin and that kind of thing after back on the knee. So,
well, it's it's on the playing field. So is this? I'm showing them how to play rugby or some sport, and using that as an excuse. Back to the spineless, can take advantage of small kids if he's playing rugby.
Would you like a quote about bruises bigger than dinner plates?
Yes, please.
Johnny Marr recounted, an eyebrow was very definitely raised at this point. Oh, sorry, he forgot to set the scene. He apparently told, this is the only time he intervened in Morrissey's lyric writing practice, and he said, mate, you should get rid of bigger than dinner plates and change it to big as dinner plates. Then he recounted, an eyebrow was very definitely raised at this point, and he went away to mull it over. When we reconvened 24 hours later, he said he'd given it a lot of thought and was impressed by no observation. And of course, he went on to do sod all about it. I think that sums up Morrissey quite nicely.
That certainly does. Okay, verse 2. Now, verse 2 is pretty much the same, so I'm just going to pull out the lines that are different. So it starts with belligerent ghouls.
Well, you've missed out the la 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 EA for 20 minutes.
I was going to do that at the end, but we can do that.
He does it twice. Sure. Yes. Oh, I really don't.
I mean, he does a lot of that.
Yeah.
It's not in the lyrics, so it doesn't make it into the word count, unfortunately.
It's in my lyrics. Right, go on then.
I mean, he's quite a good one for throwing in the lally lally doodas, isn't he?
And I really don't like it. I don't like his yodeling at all.
Well, if Ian Astbury can stick in some woo yeah babies, why can't Morrissey, who wouldn't sound right doing a woo yeah baby, throwing a lardy doody? Because
he's not a cow herd in the Alps. He doesn't need to be yodeling. What's he got to do with it? Oh,
okay. Anyway, so we go back to belligerent ghouls. Then instead of same old suit since 1962, so same old jokes since 1902.
And he's also changed from spineless swine to spineless B word. Not that.
Yes.
Say that.
Yes. And then it continues the same up to I don't want to stay when it says give up life is a bad mistake or as a bad mistake. Please excuse.
Well, obviously it's raising suicidal in.
Indeed. Then we have. Please excuse me from Jim. I've got this terrible cold coming on. He grabs and devours. He kicks me in the showers. And he grabs and devours. Want to go home. I don't want to stay. La 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 luli, as previously discussed. So yeah, I mean, it's not very deep. It's very straightforward.
So what are we saying about grabs and devours? To me, that sounds a bit sexual.
It does sound a bit sexual, and yeah.
So he's saying that his headmaster is sexually abusing him as well as physically.
Yeah.
Which is not great.
No, I mean, who chose this song?
This is a nice cheerful one after Sam Fender.
I mean, the thing is that I know all the lyrics, but I'd never listened to them. Do you know what I mean? So I'd never really thought about how miserable the lyrics were. And it's such a jumpy, it's an amazing riff. I mean, musically, it's, like I said, it's probably my favorite Smith song.
Yeah, Johnny Marr said that it took him 3 years to write this song, musically.
Right.
So obviously, not constantly. I'm sure he sort of stopped for breakfast occasionally.
Yes. Yeah.
So basically, the whole song is about how abusive boarding schools, quite possibly public schools, which are private schools everywhere else in the world. I have no idea why they're public schools here.
Yeah.
Is, and having worked for a public school, I can tell you, well, I can't because I'd get sued. But there are ridiculous things going on in these schools, and I'm not referring to abusing pupils particularly, but some of the I better leave it there.
Yeah, let's move it on. Guitar Magazine named this song as the band's 11th greatest guitar moment.
Yes.
Consequence ranked it as the 24th best Smith song.
Ah, Rolling Stone.
Stone.
It was 39th.
Exactly. I think it's rubbish. I think it's well, it's not rubbish. This is my favorite one musically. I think it's yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Because back to what I said at the beginning. It's not autobiographical. What was it? Morrissey has claimed that when he was at school, he was saved from bullying largely because he was very good athletically. So he was
really
good for that. Yeah. So it's not suggesting that he was the one receiving the treatment.
Yeah.
A quote from Johnny Marr. He is called the riff. What Joni Mitchell would have done had she been an MC5 fan.
Yeah.
Yes, it's quite nice. And of course, as you mentioned, the Radiohead cover, Johnny Marr saying of the video, or the YouTube thing, or whatever. I've showed Ed O'Brien the chords, but maybe he was looking out the window.
Well, I read that quote and then I watched the video, and I think it's a trifle unfair on by Mr. Marr there, because I think he plays it pretty well. There's a comment from Kirsty MacColl. If you want that. In 1992. When did she die? She died in the 90s, right?
I thought it was early 2000s, but yes, a long time ago.
So she says, this song is just so good. The lyrics are fantastic. The delivery is great. The playing is fantastic. But the lyrics are something else. I think it's probably one of the best songs about being at school that I've ever heard.
To be fair, I've only ever heard 3 or 4 songs about being at school.
School's out for summer.
That's about not being at school.
That is true.
Yes,
that is very true.
Another brick in the wall, obviously.
Oh, I've never knowingly listened to the lyrics, not being a Floyd fan.
I'm not a massive fan, but some of the songs they've written, like Comfortably Numb, are just amazing.
I love the Scissor Sisters version.
The Sisters of Mercy version's really good.
Yeah. Okay, all right, should we go on to the lead song for today?
Yes.
Okay, so the next song I've chosen is probably the song that was played the most when I was young in a Smith song. Every sort of indie disco, this one was always played. So this is Panic. It's a 1986 song It's a non-album single, so it appears on these kind of not real albums. So it's on The World Won't Listen, and again, that's a compilation album. It's not like a real album. So before we go into lyrics, let's address the elephants. How should we do this?
I think you need to do the lyrics first before you discuss the elephants. I was going to talk about what you're talking about elephants.
So I'm just going to read them, and then let's not talk about the context of them until we get in, right? Okay. Excuse me. Panic on the streets of London, panic on the streets of Birmingham. I wondered to myself, could life ever be sane again? The Leeds side streets that you slip down, I wonder to myself. Hopes may rise on the grass smear, but honey pie, you're not safe here. So you run down to the safety of the town. But there's panic on the streets of Carlisle, Dublin, Dundee, Humberside. I wonder to myself, burn down the disco, hang the blessed DJ, because the music that they constantly play says nothing to me about my life. Hang the blessed DJ, because the music they constantly play on the Leeds side streets that you slip down, provincial towns you jog around, hang the DJ, hang the DJ, hang the DJ, repeat a lot of times.
Children's choir, no less.
Indeed, yes. So let's try and do this in a structural way. So we'll save the reveal till at the end. So there's
I ever
three
struck
things.
You as being someone who's good at doing things in a structural way?
No, that's what I'm trying to drive it in a structural way. So officially, this song was written when Marr, or one of the influences for this song was that Johnny Marr and Morrissey were listening to Radio 1 when there was a news report about the Chernobyl nuclear disaster. And then, so that came on the news, and then straight after that, Steve Wright, who was a DJ at the time, played the song "I'm Your Man." I'm Your Man. Oh, dog is up for it, by the pop duo Wham.
George Michael and the other lad.
And Morrissey, Marr said, "What the F has this got to do with people's lives? We hear about Chernobyl, then seconds later we're expected to jump around to I'm Your Man." So that's theory one. So for example, the piece where could life ever be sane again? You're not safe here, but then where is it? Where's the phrase I'm looking forward to? Because the music they play says nothing to me about my life.
Yes.
So that's the official interpretation of the lyrics. Anything to that before I go on to number two?
Yes. It's not just talking about Chernobyl, that putatively. Grasmere. Do you know about Grasmere?
No.
It's a village in an area of outstanding natural beauty, which is an official opprobrium applied to particularly beautiful places in this country. And it's 25 miles from Sellafield / Windscale nuclear site. And when there was a fire there in the 1950s, hundreds of sheep were found dead in the fields because of whatever was coming out of Windscale. So, and again, radioactive stuff, presumably. Just like Chernobyl.
Sellafield. So Sellafield's up there?
Yeah.
Never knew where Sellafield was.
I went to one in Suffolk last year.
Went to one what?
Nuclear power plant. I can't remember. What's it called? I thought that was Sellafield. It's not. Oh, I don't remember. It's the one they want to expand anyway.
I mean, here, where I live, most power is nuclear. It's completely normal. And yeah.
Yeah, my step-grandfather worked in nuclear power from the start of it in this country, and instrumental in his being set up, and he was always adamant that it is the safest and greenest way to do it. Not a popular opinion, but that's from someone from
yeah. Well, when has popularity ever been a topic? So that's part one. I want to go to part two, which needs to be discussed.
I think also we should mention that he's basically doing the shipping forecast in this song.
Dogger Bank,
Carlisle, Dublin, Viking.
Yeah, indeed. Second interpretation is about the music that they're playing, and it has, and that the Morrissey does not like it, and this matches with some quotes that he made, and this has been interpreted as a racist song. So at the time, some I don't know how to say it. Some sort of roots-based music. There was a lot of ethnic music on the radio, and Morrissey didn't want to hear it. And he has said some things that were not great. And certainly in recent years, he has become quite a toxic person.
At the time, he described reggae as the most racist music in the entire world.
But I mean, I think Marr has commented on this, saying that it wasn't the intention, but that if it was written about that, then it's okay to not like something. By not liking it doesn't mean that you are racist. So that's theory two.
Also, some guy called Fletcher. Who was he? Can't remember. Some guy.
Press Gang, Fletcher.
Oh, that's right. No, someone else, I think. But anyway, he stated that lack of any explicit indication the song was about radio meant Panic could be construed as reviving the racist and homophobic Disco Sucks campaign of late 1970s America.
Well, I was not aware of that.
No, and Green Gartside out of Scritti Politti accused the song and the band of racism. So another pop star-ish.
Yeah. Well, Scritti Politti, massive. Okay, so we've done theory one, theory two. Let's go to the real one, right? Do we think this is the real one?
I think there are two lines in there which would be difficult to explain as being about anything else.
Yeah. So the third and most convincing to me interpretation of this song is that it refers to the deceased, how would you describe him? Entertainer.
Massive nonce.
Jimmy Savile, who after his death, so it refers to Jimmy Savile. So Jimmy Savile was a personality. He started as a DJ. I think he started on Radio Caroline, but he
started as a professional wrestler, to be fair.
He did, that's right, yes. Yes, so he was a DJ, wrestler, and he had this TV show which was massive when we were growing up called Jim Will Fix It, where children would write in with a special wish and he would grant them, such as eating their lunch on the roller coaster is probably the most famous one, and other things like doing adventures and things like that, and each one of them got a medal. It was, it must have been one of the biggest shows on UK telly. He was also involved in a lot of charitable work, raising millions for charities. Typically, he would run marathons or hobble around marathons, and that's important later on. So at these TV shows, he was on the radio.
Top of the Pops, of course, which was
Top of the Pops. Yep.
He was a regular presenter on that. And he was talking about his charity work. He was particularly associated with the Stoke Mandeville Hospital, which is about 15 miles from me here, and was, although it's a general hospital, it was particularly associated with spinal injuries.
Yeah. So he was, I mean, character, should we say? So he was always smoking his cigar, had all this heavy gold jewelry. In fact, there was a jingle jangle jewelry. Was
oh, well, that's a song.
Amusing song, although it's lost its luster after all this came out. Of course,
I think obviously it was just an indication that everyone knew he was a Roman before he died.
Well,
I mean, you say it came out after he died, but it's not like it was a secret before. Yeah.
But this is the problem, right? So when you look at this person, the life that he led, it just says paedophile. Just he looks. If you imagine, try and imagine, it seems ridiculous to say, but if you imagine paedophile, how they would look, how they would hang around children, disabled children, people in need. I mean, let's just throw it out there. There was some alleged necrophilia.
He was given the key to the mortuary in Stoke Mandeville.
Indeed.
Because he was such a good supporter.
Yeah.
He was also very close friends with Margaret Thatcher, the former British Prime Minister, who was, I won't say what I think of her because we get demonetised, not that we've ever been monetised, but beside the point. He was also good friends with Princess Diana, I believe. And also, of course, Peter Sutcliffe. He was good friends with Peter Sutcliffe. Now, he's better known as the Yorkshire Ripper.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He's a convicted serial killer in this country who died recently. I think he died during COVID. In Broadmoor, which is the hospital/prison for the criminally insane in this country. And Sally used to visit him regularly. So, there you go.
And that's in that same area, isn't it? Somewhere up the north there?
No, Broadmoor's Hampshire way, I think.
Was it? Okay. So this person is a predatory sex offender, probably the, is the phrase worst or best? Is the most prolific sex offender.
And of course, his post-death downfall led to Operation U Tree, which was a police operation which tried to find many other paedophiles from the 70s and 80s who appeared on British TV, such as Rolf Harris, is he dead yet? He's in jail for the rest of his life if he's not. So, yes.
I mean, that's the thing, right? That he clearly was doing this, and clearly people knew about it, but he was protected by whatever establishment, the BBC, whoever. We don't know anything about that. He was protected until after his death.
Yes.
After his death, there was no sort of embargo on looking into these things, and out of that, Operation U Tree came out, which looked into other similar, still living people,
yes,
and the crimes that they had committed, and some of them were brought to justice, thankfully. So looking back at the lyrics with that angle, with that perspective on it, I mean, let's pick out some of the words that are pertinent to.
Well, I think verse 3, if you've got it labelled the same as me, is the two lines that I think must be about him, because who else would it be about?
Say that then.
On the Leeds side streets that you slip down, provincial towns you jog round.
Yeah, so like I said, he was famous for running marathons. His Jimmy Savile charitable main thing was in Leeds. Yeah. Could
just
life
around
ever
the
be
corner
same
from
again?
Peter Sutcliffe.
Yeah. And then hang the DJ. Now, this has been discussed at length, and some people, well, Morrissey's never come out and said that this is correct.
And that, in fact, is what I've read while researching this. That is the main argument that people use for saying it's not about Jimmy Savile. They said if Morrissey had written this in advance of him being outed, he would have been boasting about it when it happened.
Indeed. And some people are saying, well, it wasn't public knowledge at this point, and how would Morrissey know about that? Well, there's a recording of what's his name? The guy from the Sex Pistols, Johnny Rotten in 1978, in a radio interview where he was very explicit about, not explicit, but he made accusations against Jimmy Savile. So that was 78. So if it was public knowledge in 1978, then this was written 86, I believe. 86.
Yeah, it was also, he was a guest on Have I Got News for You, a satirical news show in this country, and the other members of the panel made no bones about going as far as they could possibly do without being sued to accuse them of things. I can't remember if that's before 86 or after.
Probably after.
Probably.
Because I don't think it was started. I don't think it was going that long. Early 90s that started, I believe. So yeah, so I mean, it's another happy lyrics. Good choice. Whoever chose that.
Something else that lends some credence to it not being about Steve Wright playing Wham. I haven't got the quote. I thought I'd pasted it in, but I can't find it. But someone knowledgeable about what was being played on the radio at that time said that that Wham song had been removed from the parade playlists 3 months before that. So,
oh really?
So it wouldn't have been that song that was played anyway.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So there we go. So this, yeah, and when you listen to the song with that in your mind, it really, fortunately, it's changed my feeling of the song. Because this used to be one of my, it's just a great one that was always on, like I said, always on at the indie discos when I was a lad.
Another reason for that is how short it is, because you can just cram in lots of songs. It's 2 minutes 20 long.
Oh wow, okay. So, and there's not many words in it. How many words do you think are in this one?
Well, it depends how. Oh, we didn't do a sting on the last one, did we? Would you like a sting?
Oh. Yeah, sting me.
It is time for Professor J's word count.
It depends. I mean, it's quite a lot for total words because of the choir banging on "Hang the DJ" 8 million times at the end. So it's probably about 250 and about 75 or something like that.
Really good. So it's 64 unique words out of a total of 216. And then the previous song, so the Headmaster Ritual, is fairly similar. So 81 unique words out of a total of 174. Of course, it's almost repeated exactly. Yes, and I haven't got the la-di-da-di-doo-dahs.
Are you sure he's not actually singing the Headmaster Ritual? Like apparently he was actually singing Rubber Ring in the other one when he was young.
Potentially. Okay. Anything more to say on this?
This song was the first song to feature the Smiths' second guitarist, Craig Gannon. I wasn't actually aware they had a second guitarist. As you can see, I've selected a picture with 4 of them, and I thought that was the band. But apparently they had a second guitarist. So
do you know why they had a second guitarist?
Because they hired him to replace the bassist and then rehired the bassist. For some reason.
Why did they fire the bassist?
Heroines.
The heroines, yeah. And it was a brief period. So I think they invited him to play on a couple of songs. I don't think it was really a permanent fixture. Yeah, but Andy Rourke got experimental, so he was fired for a bit because it is Morrissey and Marr thing. As much as the other guys want to be involved, they're not. Clearly not.
Also, it's the riff's largely based on Metal Guru by T-Rex. And Marr has admitted this and said,
I could say that, yeah. Yeah, it is a lot like that, I would say.
Yeah, Marr said in speaking to Lazy Rock Captables, which I don't presume it's a magazine, in 1999, When we wrote Panic, Morrissey was obsessed with Metal Guru and wanted to sing in the same style. He didn't stop singing it in an attempt to modify the words of Panic to fit the exact rhythm of Metal Guru. He also exhorted me to use the same guitar break so the two songs are the same. So, and that's fairly clear, I think.
He is plagiarizing, as we will see in the next song.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's a great song. I really like it. It's one of my favourite Smith songs, which isn't saying much.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on to the final one for today, which I'm sure they're not going to like.
It's all right. I quite liked it.
Okay. Well, I've chosen Cemetery Gates.
I don't like the
which
spelling.
is well, that's a whole topic, right? So, Cemetery Gates, spelt Cemetry, so incorrectly spelling, missing out the A.
Missing out the E, I think you'll find.
Cemetery Gates.
Cemetery.
Cemetery. Is it not an A? I thought it was A.
It's an E.
Oh, ridiculous. Yes, so it is. Yeah, so this is a song from the third album, The Queen is Dead, 1986, again. Let's just dive into some lyrics, huh?
Sure.
There's a lot. A dreaded sunny day, so I meet you at the cemetery gates. Keats and Yeats are on your side. A dreaded sunny day, so I meet you at the cemetery gates. Keats and Yeats are on your side, while wild is on mine. Pause. So again, this comes back to what we were discussing in the last episode about this. I don't know if I want to say intellectual or pseudo-intellectual, but his lyrics.
Well read, I think.
Yeah, I mean, his lyrics. Let's call them intellectual, just to make it easier, right? He was one of the few people in the pop charts at the time who was singing anything that was intellectual. Discuss. Who else was? Fish, Marilyn, Waterboys. I just heard that the guitarist from the Waterboys died recently.
Which one?
I don't know, one of them.
It's as we haven't released it, but as we mentioned when we did discuss them, they are officially the band with the most members ever.
Even more than the Polyphonic Spree.
Yes.
50 people. Yeah, so which I liked.
Not Polyphonic Spree.
The intellectualization of lyrics rather than.
Okay.
I mean, I love a Woo Yeah Baby.
I love the
Love the cult, but also I quite like something like this, A Dreaded Sunny Day. I mean, it's so. The two previous songs, I would say, are quite. I would say they're atypical of Morrissey lyrics, but they are typical of what people think Morrissey lyrics are. You know, they're quite, down. Whereas this one, I see. There's a lot of fun in it. He's being very sarcastic. He's having a lot of fun with the words that he's using. That's what I see. And I think they're cleverly written. They tie tails around themselves, and I think that's what I really like about Morrissey's lyrical style.
He's not taking himself seriously because he accuses people of doing something he has done in the previous.
He's doing in the same sentence, exactly. Yeah. So, do we need to say who Keats and Yeats and Wilde are?
As we could. Keats was a poet, 1795 to 1821. He lived, which is not long.
Oh, is it 25?
He is.
How did he die?
Was he the one who drowned? Or was that Shelley?
No, it's tuberculosis.
Right, Shelley must have drowned. Right. I can't actually bring to mind what Keats wrote, which is ridiculous as I studied it.
He wrote Ode to a Nightingale, Ode on a Grecian Urn, Sleep and Poetry, and the sonnet on first looking into Chapman's Homer.
Okay. He's buried in the Cimitero Cattolico in Rome, also known as the Protestant Cemetery. Yeats is one I'm much more familiar with.
Why don't they say the same? It should be Keats and Yeats or Cates and Yates.
I don't know. Personal preference of their ancestors. Yeah, Yeats I know a lot more about. Lake Isle of Innisfree, such things. I've completely gone blank now. Also, a massive inspiration, as we've mentioned, to Mike Scott from the Waterboys, who has done a whole album of Yeats poems set to music. And he lived 1865 to 1939. He also did some war poetry, which was lovely. And he's buried in St. Columba's Church, close to Sligo in Ireland. Oscar Wilde, we mentioned in the last episode.
Have you got his full name there, Professor A?
I don't have his full name. What was it?
Would you like it?
Oh, yes, please.
It's Oscar Fingal O'Flaherty Wills Wilde.
Nice.
Now that's a name.
Yes,
That's a name.
His years were 1854 to 1900, so he didn't live as long as some. And he is buried in a famous cemetery in Paris. Dr. Joe, Mr. Professor Joe.
Yes, I know it well. I've seen his grave, Père Lachaise. Same as
Jim Morrison.
Jimi Hendrix. And Jimi Hendrix, I think.
I thought he was buried in London.
I could be wrong there.
Jim Morrison, definitely.
Yeah, there's all sorts of people in that cemetery.
Lots of, it's not just a one-person cemetery.
Undead.
Several, yeah. So anyway, what are we doing?
We're just defining these people. So
yes.
Oscar Wilde, Picture of Dorian Gray, The Importance of Being Earnest.
Ideal husband.
Sorry?
The Ideal Husband.
Yes, indeed. And sadly was jailed for his...
Of course, the other thing he wrote is The Ballad of Reading Gaol.
Indeed. Jailed for his sexual preference, and really shortens his life. As you said, he lived till 46, 45, 46. Yeah. Okay.
What do we think about A Dreaded Sunny Day?
Well,
most people think sunny days are a really nice thing.
Yeah, but not if you're...
especially if you live in Manchester.
Yeah, it's a rare thing. Well, for people who are Gothic or maudlin like that, they don't like sunny days and stuff like that, right?
Yeah. Why are Keats and Yeats on the side of whoever he's meeting and Wilde's on his?
That's the question.
We know he admires Wilde greatly. So is he saying that, Wilde would be his pick of a literary figure, and his companion likes Keats?
And why would that be the case?
Why would he like him?
Now, why would Wilde be on his side and Keats and Yeats?
Because Wilde is his favourite, and the other guy likes Keats and Yeats, I should imagine.
Why would that be? So I'm leading in this particular direction.
Well, tell me where you're leading, because I'm lost.
So I think Oscar Wilde was very much satirical, right? So everything was a play on words and a joke, whereas Keats and Yeats weren't. They were a bit more, they weren't disguising the truth or doing humor, right? They were very much emotion.
Yes.
Describing something and saying what they felt about it. Whereas Oscar Wilde, there was always double meanings. So
sure,
that's how I have interpreted it. Okay. Next lines. So we go inside and we gravely read the stones. All those people, all those lives, where are they now? With the loves and hates and passions just like mine. They were born, then they lived, and then they died. It seems so unfair. I want to cry. Pause.
Firstly, gravely read the stones is a horrid pun.
I think it's a brilliant pun. I love it.
Yes. Right. And then the rest of the verse is lifted wholesale from The Man Who Came to Dinner by, was it Anne Sheridan?
It was by
Someone Sheridan.
Yes. Sheridan Whitehead.
No, Sheridan Whitehead is an alias Morrissey used.
Oh, yes.
This was by someone Sheridan, so presumably this gave rise to his alias. Anyway, but yeah, the whole thing, all those people to sing Song Fair, I Want to Cry, was lifted completely from that. Lock, stock and barrel, as I say.
What's your thoughts about cemetery visiting?
I like a cemetery. I often take the dog for a walk around a cemetery. Probably going to this afternoon.
As a youngster, my teen years, it was something that we did as kids. You know, we would go and look around the big cemeteries, or if we were going anywhere, we'd always check out the cemetery. I got no desire to do that anymore.
Well, I think it's interesting. You can see someone, if there's someone famous buried there, or someone with your name, which is always interesting.
That's true.
Yeah, I've got a book somewhere of funny gravestone epithets. Yes. Although this quote was lifted from The Man Who Came to Dinner, I was reading, I listened to this on YouTube earlier, and one of the comments was someone who said his father is buried in this same cemetery, Manchester, something or other cemetery, and sort of just very close to his father's grave, there's a gravestone which just says born, lived, died, or something like that. It's also part of this. They were born, and then they lived, and then they died. So it could be a double influence.
Who was that? Who was saying that? Was that Bauhaus? School, Work, Life, Death?
Don't know that one. Told you, I've only heard 3 or 4 songs about schools. I couldn't have heard that one.
Sure, it was Bauhaus.
It might be.
Oh, talk amongst yourselves while I do this.
Yes, obviously. What do you think of this one, Professor Dogger? You like it? You can't get past the spelling. No, I understand. I have difficulties.
Yeah, I can't find it, but there is a song by somebody that is Best School, Work, Death. I'm fairly some gothic rock bands, maybe not Bauhaus, but somebody of that ilk. Anyway, so the cemetery is the Southern Cemetery in Chorlton, which is a suburb, thank you, of Manchester, and features in Phoenix Nights. In fact, there's the radio thing going, Radio Chorlton coming in your ears.
Excellent.
And there's a place called something like Chorlton Cum Hardy or something like that. Like that. So yeah, so it's inspired by walks with his friends Linda Sterling to there. It mentions the 3 graves that we've Yeats, Keats, and Wilde, and as Professor A has mentioned, none of them are actually buried there. So yes. So next lyrics. You say, ere thrice the sun done salutation to the dawn, and you claim these words as your own. But I've read well, and I've heard them said 100 times, maybe less, maybe more.
Yes.
I'm going to pause there.
Good place to pause at the end of the verse.
Well, is it? Yeah.
So, his companion, you said Linda somebody, apparently is saying, ere thrice the sun done salutation to the dawn, which of course is actually from Richard III by Billy Shaky.
Yes.
Yeah, but Morrissey has read well. He's proud of his intellectual reading stuff, which lots of people don't do these days. And he's heard that said 100 times. Probably hasn't. I haven't read Richard III 100 times. I wouldn't want to. Anyway. And then he says,
maybe less, maybe more.
Well, yes, so whatever.
But the joke is that the 100 times, maybe less, maybe more, is lifted from something as well. So that's so he's accusing somebody's using ere thrice the sun, yada yada, And in his accusation that he's plagiarizing it, he plagiarizes the way that he says it. So that's
plagiarized the entire previous verse.
Exactly.
Yes.
So that's good.
I did actually wonder. I mentioned that book I had about grave epithets. I think it's called A Little Book of Grave Humour. And I think it's not the one on the cover. It might be the first one in it or whatever. It's about someone who got shot by I think it was an outlaw. It's a sort of Wild West one. And I just wonder if maybe Morrissey has read this book and seen that, because I think he was called Lester Moore, this guy, and it says, and his epitaph is 4 shots from a 44, no less, no more, which is so clever. And I wonder if that he might have read that for his maybe less, maybe more, but talking about graves. I don't know. It's probably not.
Yeah, so I can't find it, but this 100 times maybe less, maybe more was lifted from something, and now I can't find it. So.
I couldn't find. I didn't have it down as a quote. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and again, back to this dreaded sunny day. Some people have said that he is playing at being himself. Yeah. Sure. People claim that he is a miserable git. So he is playing at the caricature that is put upon him. Where are we? So I've said plagiarize, right? Now then, do you know this song? Have you listened to this song?
Sorry. This song. Yes. I've listened to it, yes. I didn't know.
Because he says plague, he uses a hard G.
All right.
He says plagiarize.
Yeah.
Plagiarize. What's your thoughts on that, Mr. English?
I'd use
Dr. English. Professor English, sorry.
Soft G myself. I mean, there's so many words can be pronounced multiple ways. Who knows, really? So
I think that's another thing that this sort of intellectualism allows him to do that. And for me, it adds in something to the ear. It adds in something unexpected to the ear, which makes the listener.
Oh, right. Yeah, I've got a comment from someone on Genius about this. And they say, by mispronouncing the word plagiarize, Morrissey underscores his picture of the naive critic who self-consciously criticises others without understanding their own culpability in rehashing common phrases from the English language.
Exactly.
Which is a pseudo intellectual comment there. Yes.
All right. Some more lyrics.
Professor Talker? Sorry. Carry on.
Because there's always someone somewhere with a big nose who knows.
No, you haven't done the lines before that.
I thought I'd done the plagiarize one.
No.
Oh, okay. If you must write prose and poems, the words you should be your own. Don't plagiarize or take on loan. Because there's always someone somewhere with a big nose who knows, and who trips you up and laughs when you fall. Who'll trip you up and laugh when you fall. So I think we've done this one. I like the. I'm sure you're not going to like it, but someone with a big nose who knows. I think that's quite.
Yeah, there's plenty of lyrics left. You said we've done this one. No,
I'm saying that we'd already discussed the words in that section.
Yeah, someone on Genius suggested that the big nose who knows was a quote from Oscar Wilde. That's how he described himself. I couldn't find any evidence of that. That's what they said, so maybe.
Must be true.
Yeah.
Some more of them, their lyrics. You say long done, do, does, did, words which could only be your own, and then produce the text from whence was the ripped some dizzy whore 1804.
It's ere long done, do, does, did. Yes.
Oh, it's not my word count.
Well, I've got 3 interpretations from Genius if you're interested about that line.
Please.
First one could be that the words are completely gibberish, and he's just using the different tenses of the verb do to show he is very much done, so using his emphasis. Interpretation 2, ere long, done, do, does, did, could be referring to your life rushing by. Before long, everything is done. It starts out as I will do, he does, but quickly it's done. God, that's just...
Did. Right, okay.
The third one is that it's actually a meaningful statement, something like, before long, the one who has done things ceases to do things. All of their actions are now in the past. Does, did.
Yep.
Another statement appropriate for a cemetery, possibly even a headstone inscription. So it's entirely possible you saw that on a headstone.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's good. I like the whence was ripped. Isn't that sort of alludes to was from his mother's womb untimely plucked? A bit more, feels very Shakespearean.
Yeah, it does. It does. Was that Macbeth?
Was Macbeth? Yeah.
The Scottish play.
The Scottish play.
So, who's this Dizzy W he's talking about from 1804?
I don't know.
No.
You
know? But what he's saying is that this...
It can't be many, because there weren't that many openly female writers in that period.
No.
Was Bronte around then? Just a bit earlier, right?
Would he describe Bronte that way?
No, I wouldn't say that she was, but I'm just trying to think of a writer who was living at that.
Yeah, I don't.
Female writer, because weren't they originally writing with a pseudonym, a male pseudonym, right?
One was Acton Bell. They were all Bell. One was Acton.
Yeah, so
Claridge.
So the Bronte sisters were 18. The oldest was born in 1816, and the longest lived was 1855. So, yes. So I don't know.
Do you like a quote from Morrissey about gravestones and going to cemeteries?
Oh, yes, please.
He said, I don't know who this is, but he says, Howard Devoto was telling me about, we were in a cemetery because we decided to do a tour of London cemeteries, cheerful little buggers that we are. You know, get the Guinness and cheese butties out and head down to Brompton Cemetery. Some old corporal dying, smothered in blood, having a very artistic coronary arrest, and his right-hand man was saying, don't be silly, Charles, cheer up, we're going to Bognor this weekend. He turned around to his friend and said, Bugger Bognor, and Bugger Bognor actually appeared on his tombstone as his famous last words. I think that should be an LP title. That was actually the last words of George VI.
Bugger Bognor?
Yeah, I think so. George V or VI. So whoever this corporal was, who has it on his gravestone, was probably quoting George VI. But yes.
Have you ever been to Bognor?
No, neither.
Oh, must be mud rather than beach.
Well, everywhere is here, unless you go to Cornwall.
Oh.
I've now slagged off every other beach-having county. My county doesn't have a beach, so I'm all right.
What about Suffolk? It's got some nice beaches.
Suffolk's all right, actually, yeah, but they've also got, as I said, a big nuclear power station, which I can't remember the name of. Sizewell.
Sizewell. It's well sized. And I think we're at the end here, so we have another repeat. A dreaded sunny day, so let's go where we're happy.
We've got the last line.
Yes, I'm coming on to that. Lovely, blah, blah, blah. But you lose because weird lover wild is on mine. Sure.
That's not what I've got.
That's not what I hear either. What do you have?
Because whale blubber wild is on mine sugar. And that apparently is what it is. Because there is evidence.
Whale blubber wild is on
mine sugar. Mike Joyce, who's Mike Joyce again?
He's the heroin guy? Or not?
No, that was Andy Rock. He's the drummer. He tweeted on September the 12th, 2020, in the last chorus, I've sometimes seen the lyric printed as weird lover wild is on mine. Although that does sound interesting, I can assure you it's whale blubber wild is on mine sugar. This line is likely a cheeky sideswipe at Oscar Wilde, who was slightly chubby. So, from the horse's mouth. Well, not really, because that would be Morrissey. But
horse's drumstick.
yes.
So I never heard it as that. So but you lose, because I always heard "wild, oh wild" on mine, and then I never heard this word after sugar.
No.
It's wild, oh wild, wild, weird, lover, wild. What was it? Wild, blubber.
Whale, blubber, wild is on mine. Sugar.
So whatever it is,
Mm.
it does kind of encapsulate the song in the last line, that he carries on with this sarcastic, self-deprecating approach. He's all the way through. He's sort of mentioned these intellectual things. Don't plagiarize, while also plagiarizing his indignancy at someone plagiarizing. And then a lot of the song is about saying that Wilde is better than Yeats or Keats, and then at the end he insults him. So I think that sort of, like I said, it ties the whole thing up really nicely. I think it's great.
Stuff.
So interestingly, this song, when it was written, or when the music was written by Marr, Marr had the riff, and he didn't think it was. He thought it was too uninteresting to base a song around. But Morrissey really liked it.
Yeah,
it is different. It is different to the other song, and I can see that. But I think the lyrics and the way that he's singing really bring it out. But it wasn't an A side. This was a B side. This wasn't a lead single. It was a B side to the single "Ask" or "Ask."
Which is the one after Panic.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah. Just to say.
Johnson words.
Words. I had a comment. In 2006, Morrissey posed for a photo shoot in Mojo magazine, leaning on Keats's gravestone. So he's continued his interest in famous people.
That's the one in Ireland, right?
Keats was in
the one in Italy.
Italy, Rome. Cimitero a Cattolico. Oh, I see. That means non-Catholic, doesn't it? A Cattolico. It's also known as the Protestant cemetery.
Cimitadrio.
I don't know. I'm not as well travelled as you. I don't know. Yes, I'm going to give you a sting now.
It is time for Professor J's word count.
So it's longer because the first two have been quite short. Yes. So this one is 133 unique words.
All right.
With 269 total words. So because today we've had an 81, a 64, and now a 133.
Which might be different if it's whale blubber.
It would still be the same because the words are not repeated even in the version I've got. I've got weird lover.
Right.
Yeah, there we go. Smith's lyrics. They're
I've enjoyed all three of these.
Ba-boom, ba-boom.
They're good. Yeah, like them. Don't like the yodeling. Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. It's just fine. It'll do.
No Sam Fender.
No Sam Fender, but it'll do. Yes. Yeah. Well, do we have anything else? Do you have a quiz?
No quiz today.
No quiz. Oh, dear. Oh, it's been quite a long one. We're up to an hour and a quarter. Goodness. Well, I'm expecting that. This will be our longest one so far this series, I think.
Wow.
Right. So, next week, we will conclude the Smiths. What else do we have planned?
We have a video. We have
Yes.
My special video, which we are changing direction. Rather choosing a good video, I decided to be obstinate and choose a crappy video.
Anything which stops you having to speak for 20 minutes solid is fine. Yes. Yeah. I was more referring to the fact that we are, I believe, going to be releasing a special on April 1st.
Indeed, we are.
That's
yes.
something to look forward to. This is not part of season 2. This is a bonus round. So something to look forward to.
April Fool's Day.
All 3 of you can look forward to that. Yes. So anyway, unless you have any other comments?
No comments from me.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Please give us a like and subscribe, and some comments would be nice. And for Professor Dogger, I am Professor A, and he is Professor J over there. And farewell.
Bye-bye.